Hi there, I'm Naomi, but my teachers call me Mrs. Kragh, and welcome to my classroom. Today, I'm going to talk about two different things on my podcast: autonomy and agency in the classroom. As a new educator, I've heard these terms kind of thrown around a little bit, and I wanted to talk about them today, and I wanted to discuss some pros and cons to giving agency and autonomy in the classroom. In case you don't know what these two words mean, because I didn't, agency is learning in a way that works best for the student. So this lets your student decide what's best for them. Perhaps you're teaching something and you let your student decide whether they want to make a poster or maybe they want to write an essay. Both are great ways. Both demonstrate that the child knows what they're doing. Now, agency lets them decide. It gives them the control. Autonomy allows learners to take responsibility for their education and their own learning. This is self-directed and it allows for reflection. Again, we're going to discuss some pros and cons for agency and autonomy in the classroom. Pros. Well, it fosters pride and self-esteem in the student's work. It also helps you get to know your students, and it tells you what they're good at and where they may be struggling and different areas that they need to work harder at. For example, if a student likes to play the piano outside of school, they're going to be more interested and more motivated to work hard in the classroom if they can incorporate that skill into what you're learning. If you can learn your students' strengths and interests, it can help with future planning for your lessons, but it can also help you to have a better relationship with them in the classroom. It may even demonstrate weaknesses. Now, it can also show you the types of things that your students value, and it can open the door to conversations about their personal life, which is important to know as an aspiring or new teacher. It also encourages your students to not only lead themselves in the classroom, but in other areas of their lives as well. For example, maybe they join a sports team, or perhaps they want to volunteer in their community or join a club based on interests and skills that they've learned in your classroom. They can take those skills outside of the classroom and have the self-esteem and confidence to take it on. It also helps to, again, prepare your students for real life. I just highlighted on this a little bit, but the skills that they learn from governing themselves and choosing what they want to do, they can carry with them throughout their lives well beyond their school years. Now, there are some cons to autonomy and agency. Mostly pros in my opinion, but there are some cons that I would like to discuss. There could be a large gap in ability and knowledge in your classroom. For example, if you have different languages or students of different cultures, maybe not everyone speaks the language you're teaching. Students may also constantly gravitate towards a specific style of learning. So if you're giving them the opportunity to make a poster or to write it out, maybe they're always choosing the poster. It could be a problem if students don't want to challenge themselves or if they lack motivation already in their studies. If you're always going to take the easiest choice, you're not going to be challenging yourself, and we want to challenge our students always in the classroom. And we want to give them a variety of skills. Once the students have a variety of skills, they can leave our classroom and use them in real life. People with disabilities may also struggle with this style because they may not know how to ask for help if they don't understand, or there could be too many choices, and that could overwhelm a student. Not just students with disabilities, but it could overwhelm the student. And you could struggle with many choices and many options. So it's important as the teacher, if you're going to give students the choice, maybe narrow down to 1 or 2, no more than 3 options. And student reflections and evaluations are great tools in the classroom. They allow for feedback, they let you know where people are at, and also it gives the student a chance to really reflect on the things that they've completed while in the class. But these reflections may not be super honest if they're always gravitating towards the areas where the student shines the most. Now, I believe that agency and autonomy is a great way to let your students be independent and take control of their own learning. However, it's important to balance. We know this. Teachers should be mindful of these pros and cons when giving their students governance through their academics. When done right, as I mentioned, it can foster their independence, self-esteem, and problem-solving skills, and carry them throughout their lives. By paying attention to all students in your classroom, their interests, their values, you can build a stronger relationship in your classroom and achieve a sweet spot in your teaching. Now, this sweet spot helps students from getting bored, and it keeps them engaged and active when in your classroom. When agency and autonomy is given and added successfully into their learning outcomes, it can be a really positive situation. But again, keep the pros and cons in mind in your own classrooms. Thank you so much for listening today. Let me know what you think. Tune in next week. We're going to have a whole new episode. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks, guys. Bye.